Welcome to the Well-Beings Podcast. This time we are focusing on spirituality, and I'm going to kick things off with a meditation. So
Yay! It's what we need. I need a meditation. I love the Monday meditation that you did. It's so calming and soothing, and you've got that calming, soothing voice as well. I think Synthonia told you that at the first show. She said you're like Yoda or something. I think she said.
Get comfortable and close your eyes. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold it. Now release it through your mouth slowly. Again, breathe in power, hold, and breathe out fear. One more time. This time breathe in alignment and hold it. Now breathe out doubt. Now feel your body grow lighter. Feel your mind grow still. Feel yourself returning to your center. You've always had the vision. Now you've got the alignment. I want you to picture yourself on the path you've chosen and see the doors opening in front of you. Every step you take is steady. Every breath you take is proof. You're not here to prove. You're here to remember. Remember your strength. Remember your gift. Remember your divine assignment. We're going to have some affirmations. Just repeat these to yourself on a mental note. I am aligned. I am abundant. I am ascending. My words are power. My voice is vibration. My purpose is unshakable. I don't chase. I attract. I don't beg. I create. I am already everything I've been seeking. I'm going to ask you to imagine your higher self standing before you. Look into their eyes. They are calm. They are certain. They whisper to you, you've already made it. Now just walk the path. Let that message settle in. Feel it echo in your chest. Feel it live in your breath. This is your truth. This is your return. This is your alignment. Going back to the breath. Out through your mouth. And remember, you're not here to prove. You're here to remember. You're not here to rush. You're here to receive. You're not here to follow. You're here to manifest. Hold that truth. Carry it with you. And when you're ready, open your eyes. And we are so glad to have with us someone that I have been privileged to have grown up with, someone who's told me a thing or two about this thing called life. My sister, Irijah Stennett, she is a well-traveled, somebody that has been in the health and wellness field for the past 2 decades, dealing with studies in the actual Medicare field and health and wellness when it comes to holistic plant medicine and things of that nature. But I won't muddy up any of it anymore. And I'll pass it over to Irijah to tell a bit more about what she's done, what she's got going on now, and just to share the information with us. So Irijah, the floor is yours.
Anyway. Thank you so much. First of all, that was like beautiful, dope, transformative meditation that you just led us through. So I want to big you up for that. That was like the first meditation I think I've ever heard from you. So like, okay, I didn't even know that you was doing that. So I just want to thank you for inviting me to come to this space. I know that you've been doing this podcast, with your community for a good while now. So again, just gratitude to you, to everyone who shows up to just fill the room, and for everyone else who gets to, hear the back end, right? My name is Irijah Sharice Nafta Stennett. I am the second child of 7 and born and raised in New York City. And he said countries, well-traveled, right? So even though I was born in New York City, my mom was born in London and my dad was born in Montego Bay. And I think because I knew that from a very young age, we were traveling to Jamaica before we could walk, right? So I'm just imagine me, a little girl traveling back and forth to these different countries. And, eventually my dad passed away when I was about 11. And what he left with me, what he imparted with me was learn to save lives. And I didn't know what that meant. He passed when I was 11. So it must have been I don't know, maybe he said it when I was 9 or whatever, right? But it stuck with me to the point where it was things that looked like Bill Cosby delivering babies on the Cosby Show. I was oh, I could do that. And then it was volunteering was always something that was important to us, my mom. So we grew up on Thanksgiving Day, at the shelter or at some place feeding other people. And then it's learn to save lives, travel, help other people. And then, fast forward, you go to college. I had the opportunity to go to Howard University, big up to the Mecca in DC. And I got my degree as a physician assistant. So that's how I fulfilled my promise to my dad to learn to save lives. And I had a groundbreaking, I would say, introduction to the healthcare field at Howard University Hospital, working in HIV testing, connection to care, tested over 1,000 individual people, and giving people, reactive results and, getting them into the right chain of care, saving lives, right? And then it was this still volunteering, doing different things while I was in university level. Yoga came into my life. And my mom again, as you have some of y'all been able to talk with on this platform, she's the one who reared us, right? With this wellness, with this plant-based living, vegetarian, ITIL is vital, Rasta lifestyle. So when I learned about breathing and connection to breath and different movements and positionings and mudras, it was just okay, healthcare field, Western medicine, holistic medicine is the breath work, I know you also know the different plant medicines. And so it was just this, how come we can't come together? Or there is a community of them that come together. Now you have functional medicine doctors and, there's just this expansion that has happened, right? And so I'm grateful to be a part of what I like to say myself is as so many different ways, but I like to say I'm a medical intuitive. I'm a healing creative artist, and my travels to now over 22 different countries, right? Across Africa, Latin America, and Southeast Asia, all the way to Australia, has connected to me with some genuine people. And so I'm grateful to now be 8 years in Jamaica, I think. Yeah, to have the knowledge that I have and to still be seeking and learning. And, you know, whether it's like I'm taking a neuro-linguistic programming training or shamanism introduction, you know, I think what's most important and what I've learned now is to just really be happy, right? And in those moments where I think it's like the unknown or the uncertainty is, embrace it. Like, embrace it to whatever that looks like. Like, it's not to shun any of those things away. So yeah, I'm grateful to be moving, to be fully functioning and able, and still curious about like what else is out there and who I am as not just Irijah, you know, but like that divine assignment that was, you know, already placed upon me before I know it. So in that sense, I am complete, I am grateful, and yeah.
I love that. I mean, I think there's something very unique and special about being raised Rasta. And I think that for myself, being Caribbean and my mum being Bajan, I mean, even now, what I've been dealing with health-wise, I haven't gone to the doctors. Everything was, you know, brewing something up on the cooker and digest that. And my nan would do the same. Like, you do the natural thing before you go to the doctor. The doctor has its place, but you can heal at home, you know. And I've seen it with Emmanuel as well. But if you could just tell us a little bit more, if that's okay, because in some ways I might have to hit you up to be a guide for me, because I've been, the Most High knows, I've been asking for more, like I need a guide along this path, because I know some stuff, but nowhere near all the things that you know. And I think my question is, how much has being raised as a Rasta have had the impact on who you are today?
That is such a good question, because it's like, you know, plant medicine and ganja, you know, our sacrament is herb, is marijuana, is cannabis, sativa, indica, you know, kush, right? Spiritually, we look at things as like, we are either addicted to it, or we are either looking at ourselves and seeing like, how do we need to have a balance, right? And so with Rasta, even that too is like, you don't have to have this kind of hair to be Rasta, right? So it's just like, but my hair has been this way all my life. That's all I know. So my sister's hair is not this way, right? My brother's hair is not this way. We all don't eat the same, but it's like there's a liberty, right? So at the first of it, for me personally, I still eat fish. So I'm not to say fully vegetarian or vegan. I eat eggs, right? But how we grew up was to say like, okay, fish, that was it, right? And it was, yeah, a lot of vegetables and even a lot of cleansing, a lot of bitters. Those things were introduced to us from a very young age. So it was like, wasn't any like, oh, we taking you out to the hospital. Yeah, you're going to drink a bush. You're going to drink something you don't like. You're going to get rub up with some rum. You're going to take a bath with some of this and some of that. And, you know, yeah, I feel like it's like two-sided, right? Because it's like, our grandparents were not so happy that their children were part of this Rasta movement, like our parents, right? So it wasn't always like, oh yeah, Gina and Noel and their Rasta children. It was like, hey, let's cut off their hair and come, let's comb that out. Let's feed them some chicken. Yeah, it was like that. So, you know, when you just kind of look at it and say, why did our parents do that? Well, look at down the line. Some of our uncles have diabetes, hypertension. all these things, and we look at it and we say, wow, some of those things missed us. Why? Because our parents exposed us to things that a different way. That's the only thing that I can say, because I went through the hospital system, and it's like people coming in, because it's like what you put in your mouth, feed in your mind. So it's like, okay, then it's like, it's like what we are putting into our mouths, the music, into our ears, into all of those different sensational spaces that we have. Those things feed our spirit. So it's like, it's food, it's fuel. And I think our parents were intentional about making sure we knew what types of things were going to fuel us positively. And like, okay, if you, choose to do whatever you want, Nobody's not going to say nothing about you, but it's your choice. So, I have one brother who like completely just doesn't eat any chicken, just eats fish. And the rest of us, we choose to do what we want to do. But I think eventually, maybe one day I'll be like my mom, no fish at all. But I enjoy it. You know what I mean? So I think that too is the part of it where there's the balance, right? Not everybody who's a Rasta is going to be the dread, but maybe they will eat ital and vegan, right? And it just goes to the balance of like, I think I've even learned from other teachers, you say guides. Some of my aunties are my guides, right? And they're like, find your moderation, that balance, because it's not always so good to deny yourself and to go to such extremes, because we hear people who are super vegans and they get sick also. So it's like that part goes to the health, like knowing where are you. I still go to the doctor and get like a yearly physical. I go to the dentist because I want to know where I am. But it's not like to say everything that I feel a little this and that, I'm running to go and see. I'm like, what have I been ingesting mentally, physically, emotionally that has caused me to have these symptoms? And so it's like, that's where we are our own doctor and looking at it that way. And so I think too, like, Rasta connection to music. There's a livity. There's a livity to reggae, to like freedom fighters, right? To the mystic man and these people who have like inspired us because they were rebels. And I think too, like, I feel like a Rasta, we feel comfortable in any room because we know ourselves. We don't feel like we're trying to be anybody else. And so I feel like, that's always been, if I lacked confidence in something else because I didn't look like somebody else, I had confidence in another place because I knew who I was, So I feel like that's a Rasta definitely helped me to see. Like, I can say that. Like, I only have a few friends, maybe like two, who like we grew up together and we had locks all of our lives, right? And so,
Don't have to dread to be Rasta.
Right.
This is not
what I thought about when we were talking?
Right.
You talked about what we put in ourselves. Rasta also is big on language and what comes out of our mouths. There's a live it. Instead of saying things like enjoy, it's full joy. It's really about controlling yourself and having the discipline. Rasta is a liberty for sure. It's something I want to touch on with your experiences is yoga and the breath work. So you studied under a master teacher. Could you give us some background on that?
Yeah, I feel like I've studied with master teachers, right? And specifically around yoga, my personal teacher, Master Yasira Hotep, the founder of modern day yoga skills, Kemetic yoga. I met him in 28. No, I'm lying. I met him before I even knew about Kemetic yoga. My mom came to Washington, D.C. for a belly dancers of color belly dance festival, and he was one of the guest teachers. And prior to that, I had been to Egypt already, but I didn't know nothing about Kemetic yoga. So like I said, multiple teachers, but Hatha yoga was the first yoga that I did with one of my esteemed ancestors, Mama Amma, right? And she really taught me about the connection to the breath. And then Master Yasir, before I even get to Master Yasir, I had another teacher. Oh gosh, her name is escaping me. But with the breathing project. And she also taught me different things about the body and touches points of reflexology. So you have the breath, you have points of reflexology, and then Master Yasir, he is the one that brought in the energy and connecting the energy to the different asanas, right? So those were very important for me and my like foundation of like getting actually interested in yoga. I had a Black woman as my teacher. She like was influenced by one of the greatest African dance teachers, Denny Zulu. Then I had this white woman who like went to India and like she was like working with the National Association on Mental Illness, and she was in New York helping people who were like going through different depression, but she was like teaching us yoga and different reflexology. And then it was like 10 years later, I decided I wanted to become a yoga teacher because I left, let's just say, nonprofit corporate world. And I did yoga because yoga helped to relax. Yoga helped to calm anxiety that I, deal with, right? And so come to Yasir Rahotep, a Black man from Chicago. This guy's probably like 6 feet. And I never hardly ever see men in yoga. Hardly ever. And Black. So it was like, wow, this man probably knows something. And he actually sent me his DVDs before I took his training. And so he's from Jamaica. That's another thing which I learned afterwards. Like he was doing his training in Jamaica. And I just so happened to be here. And, now it's just like teacher that I've known since 2017, 2018. And I feel like now I can go out there and train other people to be comedic yoga teachers. Like I feel that solid in the practice. And it's really about breath work, right? And then when we get to breath work, just moving the breath through the body, through different movements, right? Through different intentions and through different, that's it. I try to keep it very simple because I don't want to to make it too difficult to understand for people. Like yoga is so simple. It's just movement. It's just a breath. It's not religious, right? You're not praying, but people meditate and people repeat mantras and recite things to themselves so that they can stay focused. Like, so it helps you to get into yourself because a lot of the times we don't have that. We don't create that intentional time to do it. So I think like yoga classes, yoga studios all came together to help people like, hey, here's a space you can become still and just listen to yourself, and for me personally, I think, there needs to be more yoga spaces. You don't have to call it yoga space, meditation space, stillness room, because that's when we really, become aligned and attuned with what we are picking up from food, from the music, from what we read, from the people that we talk to, from the social medias, from emails, from work. So yeah, I don't know if they answer your question about comedic yoga, but I'm grateful. I've been to Egypt twice, and to see it, and then to learn that there are postures associated with these paintings on the walls, or the carvings on the wall, or these hieroglyphs, the Medunetter, like Isis, all these things mean something, and they're connected to us. And so I think at the larger degree, like, that felt something that it was deeply purposeful for me to learn comedic yoga. I've traveled there. I'm a person of color, Black person, right? And so, I thought it was like maybe even miraculous that I got connected to my teacher because it was a woman who was a Black Bikram yoga teacher, which if y'all don't know about Bikram yoga teacher, that's Bikram yoga. It's about going into a room about 100 degrees and doing yoga for an hour. Sometimes in 90 minutes. But no, she connected me to him and he was just genuine. And so, Yasir Rahotep, yoga skills. He goes all over the world. I want to even say he goes to London. He goes all over the world and does these trainings. And so, I rate him, and I rate what he's been doing. Over 5,000 people trained in the last 30 years, and probably close to 7,000 at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Wow.
Exactly. That's it. That is exactly it. Let go. Go with the flow. Start again. Don't be afraid. Like, it's not about being perfect because our bodies are exactly how they are, and in this moment, that's okay. So, and perfect for who, right? So it's like, and I think too, some of the like people not interested in yoga has to do with a lot of gymnasts and a lot of dancers predominantly being teachers. And so there's this false thing that like, oh, everybody has to be so flexible, when it's like, no, it's not about being flexible at all. It's just about like being still, connect to your breath. Yeah, if you can get in certain positions after practice and months of practice, you know what I mean? So I think it was a series of different types of seminars and professional development programs that had me be super hyper vigilant as far as like creating possibilities or like being intentional, or even having the 4 agreements like be something that was like, okay, take nothing personal, always do my best. You know what I mean? It was like this, okay, I'm building upon all of these seminars. And because I mentioned about service, I volunteered with the organization that took high school students overseas to different countries in Africa and Latin America. And that helped me to travel to these different places. And again, see myself differently. Like, okay, I wasn't working at some point I left the hospital field, and I was like, show me how I'm saving lives. These young people, they ain't in the gang. They come into this program every weekend, and now I'm taking them to Africa for a month. And then now they learning Portuguese in Brazil. You know, so I had to really look at, what does that mean? Because I think what happened was, who am I living for? My father's making sure I lived up to his promise, or what my purpose is, or what do I really want? And so it was like, I had those types of fork in the road, if you want to call it, right? And I think, you know, those eventually kind of led me to like where I was, where I left the healthcare field, took more nonprofit work. And then it was like, well, I ain't really, after traveling so much, you know, I ain't really feeling America, or like, that's not the only place where it's at. It's not, right? After like, you go to countries like Morocco, they got the train system that's like crazy good. Or you see how developed the world really is. And I think for those things, maybe in some part, maybe I was like, oh, maybe I might be taking some things for granted. And so, yeah, I kind of like, yeah. And then at some point I was just like, I'm just going to leave America. And that only really happened because I left my job, and then my grandmother in Jamaica started becoming ill. And so that was a real thing that had me actually exit America. Yeah, that was a real thing, because it was like, once I left America, New York, came to Jamaica, and I did my yoga training. And once I did my yoga training, like, he opened me up to a whole world of like, then it became like, wow, I have this opportunity to like blend what I've learned in medical PA school with what I'm learning in yoga school. and then it also became, and what I've learned in my professional development seminars. And so, yeah, ontology, anatomy, you know, people want to know about Kemetic history. So those things that I've gleaned from my teacher, I can now help and share that with people. So I feel like it was you know what I mean? I hope that answered your question, but it was like the seminars and all the things, and then it became an international. And you saw like young people, like, you bring them back, maybe in 2 years they might have a baby, but then the other one might become a foreign service officer. The other one might be like working for Apple, and the other one might be working for CDC. So it's like you see yourself having an impact on people's lives. And then I think I got to a point where I was like, okay, now I'm ready to slow down, because I want to like go on my own personal sabbatical. What do I want? I had that time, like the first 2 years being here in Jamaica, to live with my grandmother, to kind of move around. And then I had the last 5 years I was living in the grill by myself. So it was like, all right, we zoning in. This is where you just get to like do what you want to do fully. And like, don't matter what nobody else says, you grown ass woman. You know what I mean? I'm paying my bills. If I need help, I can ask for it. But like, I am living purposefully. And I finally like got to that point where it was like, it's not for nobody else, it's for myself. because we're the only ones that we're our hardest critic, right? But I think you just always kind of go back to like, what was my vision and my mission or my aim, and they change. So that's one of the things that I feel like I do that works for me or that helps me. I got a planner, I got a calendar. It might be a 5-year or 3-year one. Let me envision, let me create, let me plan what 2026 looks like, what 2027 could potentially the theme of these experiences that I want to have. I've studied a little bit of numerology, so it's like, oh, this is gonna be my this type of person of the year or that type of person of the year. So
I want to say, I think it's really important what you said, because this has been on my mind today, this morning, particularly about being a grown-ass woman. And I think that, you know, we are I feel like you're around my age. I'm not sure exactly where you sit, but we're all over 30.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, I was talking to my daughter this morning about a lot of the chains that I'm trying to release are the chains of misogyny, are the chains of being from a Caribbean background. Obviously, I'm in the UK, I'm not in America. I've got a different experience. But there's a lot of, you're supposed to be like this and you're supposed to be like that, and you don't do this and you don't do that. And when you are obedient in that as well, you know, I conform to a lot of things that essentially added up to not being me. And I think that what I really feel inspired by with you today is that you sound to me like you're in your purpose, like you've been walking in your purpose. And a lot of females cross-culturally, because I've got friends who are Indian, friends who are Pakistani, who've told me similar things as well. You know, the girls serve the boys. The boys don't do any of the cooking. They don't do any of the housework. It wasn't that way in my household. My brother had to do stuff. He had to
Right.
he had to wash his clothes. But there was still misogynistic things imposed upon me as a Bayesian, Jamaican, black female, that, you know, whether it was you don't do this or just subtly in my ear like, you know. And now that I'm of the age I am, and I've noticed that some of my nieces as well, what the Most High said to me this morning is, you need to free yourself for them. It's not just your daughters, it's your nieces as well. It's all these other girls all over the place that are going to look at you now and go, I want to look at Auntie Kaz, look at, you know. But yeah, it's inspiring, because I've always kind of looked at women. I had a friend when I was younger who went to live in Thailand when I was in my 20s, just before I had my daughters. And I used to look at her and I just used to think, I wish I was that brave. I'm not that brave, you know what I mean? But I love it when I hear women, especially black women, go, I've traveled and I've invested in myself and I've been here and I've been there. And you know what? You can't tell me nothing. I love that. So salute to you.
Yeah, from Adriana. Adriana has had a hand up for a while, and I just am so interested in hearing what she has to contribute to the conversation.
All good. You know, I love to listen, and especially when it's something that sparks what is current in life. And with us, we're constantly in synchronicity. So everything that everybody's hit on has hit home for me personally. My question was more along the lines of what you said about being a medical creative. And then with you having such an expansive knowledge in a bunch of different practices and familiarity with, you know, the traditional medical field, how do you personally express that in your day-to-day life? Like me personally, I mix things up as well. So I found it really interesting that you described yourself as a medical creative. Like, I'm sure there's an alchemy to the way you do things, and you don't have to share your trade secrets. But I'm curious, you know, if there's a way that you could elaborate on that without, you know, giving away too much, whatever you feel comfortable with. I just think that's an interesting way of putting things.
Well, actually, I said a medical intuitive, and I said a healing creative artist. And so how in my day-to-day what that looks like, I think I had mentioned, like, I still do my yearly physical, so I'm not like totally against the Western ideology of, like, you know, taking care of yourself. But yeah, my week looks like walking, yoga. If I can, when I used to live in a girl, I was going to the beach quite regularly. So swimming, like being out, you know. I think one of the things that I've just learned recently, and I'll say recent, like in the last month, I was in Thailand actually for about 2 weeks. I'm doing a silent retreat, and my teacher like shared a gift with me. And it was basically like, whenever things seem to like jolt you, or if you feel so intense, you're trying to like we're trying to like encourage or convince someone else to do something, like just pause. You know what I mean? So I feel like I have a lot of moments where I pause and like kind of check in with my body. That's what I do a lot more now that I wasn't doing before. So it's like I was away at the silent retreat meditating for 10 hours for 10 days straight, not talking to anyone. And so now I'm coming back into my regular life where I might only spend an hour, and I'm not spending an hour just being still. I'm like, you know, moving and breathing and whatnot. So it's forced me to really like be still, check in with my body and feel what I'm feeling. Not to just like, oh, I'll worry about that tomorrow. It's like, no, what is that? What's coming up? Is there something I haven't addressed? So always like, okay, let me check in with my body. Then I recently also did like a challenge, or a seminar. It was like a 30-day forgiveness. And we, as I mentioned, the 4 Agreements book. And I look at too, like, am I out of integrity with myself? Have I, you know, been off my word? Like, those are some of the practices that I do on a day-to-day basis. I write. Because those are some of the ways for me to like release. And I think too, for people who are, whether you want to call them empaths or just like highly sensitive people, we have to create these different types of accountability systems, right? And it's not always going to be someone else for us. We have to figure out a way to like do it for ourselves. So whether it's a device, your watch, your phone, something, right? And so I utilize these things on a day-to-day basis to remind me to check in with myself, to remind me to do yoga, to remind me to, you know, to do those things. Those things work for me, but any might not work for everybody else. Because I was telling somebody else, it was like, well, Irijah, that's you. And I was like, well, you know what? That actually wasn't always me. I went to these seminars, right, that people pay $1,000 to go to, and they tell you, this is what you should do. So it's after like not following, you realize, oh, maybe it's time I follow. Or they tell you, hey, don't do this for 2 years. And you're like, oh man, I really want to do it. So you do it, and everything's like in shambles. And you're like, okay, well, I guess it's now time for me to take that 2-year break. And it's like, and then everything goes well because, you know, I think that's that part of it too, of being our own intuitive, like medical intuitives. Like we have to like, I have taught myself how to really check in with my body from the crown to the sole of the foot. And that's what I do on a daily basis. So when it's out of alignment, then I'm like, you got to go walk. You got to go to the beach. You got to go to the river. You know, you need to eat less fish. You need to eat more of this. Because this is continual learning. And I'm not going to say, like, even this morning, I remember listening to going over one of the questions, and somebody triggered me, and I was like, great. Somebody triggered me right before I'm about to go on this call about spirituality.
And you know, I think what I like about meeting you today is you are the advert for it, because your energy, like your brothers that we've met, like your mom, your energy is light, and there's a beauty and a sincerity in you. You know, I'm not saying, obviously this is the first time I met you, and I'm not saying I'm not a kiss ass, so I'm not saying it just because Emmanuel's in the room. I'm saying it because that is my experience of you so far. In the email that you sent me, the email exchange we've had, speaking to you before, and now listening to what you've got to say, like, you are the advert for why it's useful for everybody to do it. You know what I mean? Because what it does is gives you a light, and you're not saying that your life is perfect, or that everything's been easy, or that you did it all straight away, like you've just always been this, it's a process. But you know, you feel good to be in the space with. Do you know what I mean? And that's what we're all aiming for, isn't it? That's what we want on this elevation journey, is to just be around people that feel good to be around. You know, it's not spitefulness, bad mind, and the modalities that you've talked about are the ways to get there. Not everyone can go to the beach every day in the grill, though. So I think that's a little bit of an advantage. But you had the courage to take your backside to Jamaica,
right,
and create that reality for yourself. And that's, again, what I find really inspirational, is the choices that you've made and the courage that you've had to see those choices through, you know.
And to follow up on that, how would you advise those who say don't have as much traveled experience, or maybe can't necessarily afford the seminars and things of that nature? Because there are a lot of people who find spirituality in a bunch of different ways, through dramatic experiences, community groups, things like that. How would you, I guess the best way to ask would be, how would you advise those that are, say, crushing it along on their journeys, but trying to stay focused on that? Like, how would you advise those people who are the outliers, the people that are standalones and don't necessarily have those extra pushes within themselves because they're still learning, like that sort of thing? Because there are a lot of people like that. Like, I find myself in those situations often with others, and I'm not perfection. Like, even a year ago, you could ask the collective here, I am not the person I was a year ago.
Yeah, I feel like it's just one step at a time. It's really one step at a time. I feel like even with the saving, I wanted to do that Vipassana 8 years ago. So it took me 8 years. You know what I mean? It actually took me 2 years ago. I finally was like, well, how do you do the process? You know what I mean? And then it was just like on a whim, I was like, okay, we're going to apply. And so it's to one, like, it's to have the goal of wanting to do something. So if it's to travel, then yes, to identify the place. Why do you want to go there? If it's for vacation, then okay, that's great too. So it's like, okay, well, how much money you need to save, right? And then it's like taking those necessary steps every day, every week. Maybe you start investing some money so that you give yourself a year. That's one of the things that I feel like benchmarks are really great, right? Especially when you say outliers, like if you give yourself a timeline and say, okay, 90 days, I want to be here. It's like you said, a year ago, you were a different person. So it's like in a year from now, you could be like, have traveled to another country, right? But it's all just a matter of like setting that intention. So set the intention. I then got enough scholarships. I then got like free admissions to programs because I'm a Black woman of color. So in that regard, like if it doesn't seem attainable, they usually offer a scholarship or they usually offer something. There's monies out there. I believe that. So yeah, just like you said, it's just a matter of like actually wanting it, saying you can have it. That becoming like your mantra daily, because if you're breathing in your room, meditating in your room, doing all those things, and it is going to come to you. Like the answers will come to you. Leave your room today, go to the library, and you're going to get like $50 million. You know what I mean? Like, or you're going to meet the person who's going to be like, oh, you've been meditating in your room for the last 50 days. Can I take you on this trip to Africa? Or, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that is the path of least resistance. That's when you show up Like, and you don't just believe in like a coincidence, but you believe in like the synchronicity of life and like how you show up, because you've been taking this time to like be intentional, to set reminders, to apply for programs, to, you know, do the things that like work for you. So we could test out all of the things that experts do, 4-hour work week, this, whatever that, rule of this, and all these laws. But if it doesn't feel good into your soul, then it's not going to work. So it's like, setting alarms don't feel good to you, don't do it. Do what works. And I think that's the part where it's like, now we're in this like wheel of trying out all these things. And maybe it's you only do 2 of the things. Or maybe you be like, oh, these are my top 3. Or some people like my divine 9. I don't know, like, you know, whatever works for you. But I think you do have to start to identify those things that are like your practices, your routines. People say rituals or rituals. But yeah, it's like it becomes your practices. And then they will start to like, either people call them like, you hear your downloads or your inner voice or your, you know, your higher voice. Those things will become more prevalent to you. So it'll increase your awareness, because yeah, it's all out there for us all to like, to travel, to get the money, to have the experiences, and to help people if that's like what it is, and to help yourself, you know what I mean, first. Because I always tell people in my meditation, like, you know, it's you first, but it's not you only, but it is you first. So we got to help ourselves, love ourselves first, train ourselves first, you know, and then we go out there and we like, you know, see the mirror that we can be.
Thank you for saying it, because that is, I think that's the disconnect with a lot of beginners, I should say, in this journey, is that they get caught up in certain disciplines, or caught up in certain like tone reference, like certain ways to do certain things, as opposed to just falling into exactly what serves them best. And that differs for everybody, right? I just have one more follow-up question. This is more of a personal one. As someone who is clearly a light, and seem from what I gather from you, you tend to be that wherever you go. I'm getting adjusted to being one myself, right? How do you continue to emanate that light if you are the only light in the room? So say your purpose is to bring other people up, right? But also have that discernment and that balance to not let their, say, darkness penetrate. How do you keep that focus on your practices, on what keeps you centered, when you can sometimes be, and this is me personally, be overwhelmed by other people's darkness that they either infringe upon you, or that you're just surrounded by and aren't as able to get away from? Like, how do you stay a light in the midst of a lot of darkness?
One of my teachers, so this is what I heard, and I may not get it exactly right, but one of my teachers, so I'm also a pranic energy practitioner, pranic energy healer, pranic healer. And we deal with the chakras, not just the 7 chakras that everybody knows about, more than that, 11, 12, right? And
that's like hundreds, right? My bad, I'm sorry.
Oh, there are hundreds, right?
There are hundreds of chakras in your body, yeah.
Right, in all parts of our body. So what he likes to say is, I was born an original, so I won't die a copy. You are your light. Nobody else, you know what I mean, can be the light that you are. And I see it and I feel it from you. I felt it from the first time, like just engaging with you. So thank you for acknowledging the light that I am, because I feel it in you. And yeah, in those moments where I feel like, sometimes I like to call it heat, because I'm also fire. And sometimes when I feel other people's heat, I just remind myself, like, I'm the heat that comes to warm, not the heat that comes to burn. So you can be the light that comes to shine, you know, for whatever that is, right? But you look at it, and so I look at it as like, I am the heat in this room that has come to warm, not to burn you. I'm not here to harm you, but I am here with some heat. You know?
Love that.
With the light. you know, but it's like, yeah, and that's getting in tune too, and like, oh, I actually feel my energy and I feel the energy of others. And sometimes it could be opposing mine, and I might be the only one in that space. So how do I still remain myself, yourself, right? Yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge, but you know, I was born an original, so I will not die a copy. And that's how I'm like, I know who I am. And we all are. Like, we all are. So
Much
And
peace.
I'm
Thank you.
wondering, can I just add that I think that, just as an observation, and obviously I don't know anything, but you're in a family environment that supports that. So I think, you know, you've got those close relations who are doing the same thing. You know what I mean? And I think what I'm kind of hearing a little bit from you, Adriana, if you don't mind me saying, is
No,
that
go ahead.
you're not always around that, are you? You don't necessarily have that in some of your close interactions. So it's like, because I'm not surprised by you, Irijah, after what we know of Emmanuel and meeting your brother and meeting your mom. There was an expectation that you would be like this, because I've seen a consistency. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah, but I think that what I'm hearing, and I think in some ways I can relate, Adriana, in different ways, that it can be, it's also being the light, because the Most High puts us in certain circumstances for whatever reason.
That part, yeah.
I think, yeah. And I've heard other people, like spiritual people or whatever, talk about really explicitly, you know, feeling alien and being put in these, you know, we're like seeds that have been spread across the planet, and we've been dispersed, you know, widely. So you might be the only one in the space that you're in, you know what I mean? And then it's like, again, what I'm hearing from what Irijah said, and just speaking for myself, it is that you have to pour into yourself. That is the only way. The only way is going inside and drawing on that power from you, because it's being aware that, you know, you're going to go in these spaces and no one's going to get it. You get it. Do you know what I mean? And I've had that experience. I've had that a lot. I've always felt like odd. And this is in truth, I've been crying a lot, good happy tears, and I messaged all you guys as well, because in truth, this group is one of the first times I've been in a collective, not just with the one friend here and the one friend there, because I have got them one friend here and one there, but the first time I've been in a collective where I feel like I can just be me, as odd as I am, as spiritual as I am. You know, I'm an odd character, and I see that oddness in my children, but it's what Irijah said, it's being an original, and it's embracing, like, God made me like this for a reason, and all you are the reflection of that. And it's just really beautiful to be in a space where, like, whatever I do, you're all right with me. You know, I don't have to hide nothing or pretend or watch my words, or whatever I do, you're all right with me, and we're all right with each other. It's really beautiful.
It is.
With that being said, do y'all want to go into the questions, or do we just want to keep doing rapid fire?
I want to ask if Irijah will come back for part 2 first. And I also want to... Yeah?
Sure. Interesting. You know, I'm still learning too, and that's part of it, right? Like I talk about the practice of this. Every day is practice. Like day one might be day one tomorrow, because I just have to start all over again. But yeah, I would love to. I'm still learning. I'm like, we as most of the people who have been studying for a long time say, they're just a baby still. You're still a baby.
The other thing I wanted to say, you need a space, man. You're like your brother, like you're an entertainer. You're interesting to listen to. Your energy's beautiful. Like, you need a podcast, please, because I would watch it. Like, we haven't got enough time today to go but it just feels like we could just keep going and keep going and keep going. And what you need is a space. I'm just putting that out in the air. Oh, to gift the world with this beautiful energy and your wisdom, because it is a unique, you are unique.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I will look into that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, because I feel all boosted now. I really do. Yeah. When you're ready, Adriana.
Okay. Thank you.